welcome to the Honey Follow Your Bliss podcast, where self-discovery and spirituality meet. I am your host, SpirituallyKi, and if you're tuning in, then you're in tune and exactly where you need to be. Okay, guys, welcome to episode 5 of Self-Discovery Sundays. I have so much to fill y'all in on as we get into today's topic for taking risks and navigating uncertainty, including why I deleted my last video surrounding changing your habits and how I set up a new supportive network for creators because of it. So, if you're a spiritual creator or any content creator interested in areas of spirituality, then listen to the end for deets, please. Thank you. Okay, but to set the stage for this death rebirth type of energy that was going on with me, there was a new moon in Virgo on Monday, with the energy lasting a few days before and after the moon's peak. And in the eyes of consciousness, we know everything is energetic and connected. But for those who don't follow astrology specifically, basically each lunar phase is associated with a different energy by zodiac on new and full moons, and also offers an opportunity for areas of your life needing attention or healing. So, for example, this new moon energy was in the sign of Virgo, offering the opportunity to basically declutter our lives, looking at work life balance, your daily routine, health and wellness, and because Virgo is an earth sign, a need for getting grounded. Why am I giving y'all an astrology 101? Well, because when I first started my journey into spirituality, connecting with the moon cycles gave me more of a routine spiritual practice where on the new moon, you basically manifest by setting intentions, aka plans for the future. And during the full moon, you release aspects of your past or your lower self for healing. And I honestly feel like once you get in the habit, you become more sensitive and perceptive during planetary shifts and changes in nature, and then are able to recognize where it's having an influence over your life. But I've been so off track with that. And this new moon came right around to show me exactly why I needed to get back on it, or at least revisit where I could use more structure, even more self awareness, and better planning in my life. So I just want to share some things I've been holding back from my little reality check and how I'm choosing to navigate them in hopes they'll be helpful for the community. The community. It's like calling y'all my cousin or my neighbor. Hey, community. For sure. So I wasn't prepared for any of those realizations though. And I basically shared what felt like an uncomfortable video where it wasn't really clear what I was facing or what I was even taking accountability towards. But full disclosure, the angst was coming from the uncertainty of recently taking a risk on being a full-time entrepreneur. Yeah. And so a couple months ago, I was guided to essentially step out on faith, to do that and prioritize a spiritual channel here on YouTube to be the focus of my journey. But I've basically been going it alone without a clear roadmap of what's next. And even though I'm committed to following my intuition, this like new level of fear has surfaced to basically show me where I'm going to need more compassion for myself, discipline, and intention to level up in this new cycle. And I knew there was going to be some challenges, but I didn't expect them to be so damn confrontational. Like, but I've since stepped out of my ego and into my Zoom because this is what Self Discovery Sundays is about. Being vulnerable and courageous enough to make the unconscious, even within myself, conscious. And one thing I'm really good at is recognizing where the challenge is spiritually and transmuting it into something better. And we all have the power to do that. So let's discuss it. Now, as this Virgo new moon had me in shambles with what felt like an ego death, I recognized that I was going to have to balance out my masculine and feminine energies, which masculine energy is more of a taking action, going after your goals type of energy, and feminine energy is a receptive, allowing energy and knowing when to rest. And so I was going to have to balance that within me. And I basically knew that I would have to look at both physical and spiritual approaches to allow for a more healthy move forward. So that's how I've organized kind of what I'm going to discuss today. But one of the biggest challenges in this process for me has been with trust or releasing control. And I think, the core of that was and is a fear of failure. And I think we all have that at one point or another in our lives. But I had developed the process for successfully attaining um, in different avenues. And so to do this now as an entrepreneur is just a big leap. And so, when you do have that fear of failure, you may experience negative emotions, negative thinking, having like the scarcity mindset. And in my case, I had those things. I was lacking motivation, and we can find ourselves stuck in what, like big self help author Napoleon Hill calls a hypnotic rhythm, where our thoughts, our beliefs, our habits that we've created as part of what was natural um, might not be as healthy. And so, when you're creating new, you want to lean into the discomfort, the unnatural, and tweak and change things so you can get more into a new rhythm, a more beneficial rhythm. And so, that was one part of it. And, I also found myself attaching things like the pace, the timing, and even comparing with all the videos I went down the rabbit hole for looking at, what changes do I need to make to stay at the top of trending or at the top of the feed or what have you, but not because I wasn't confident in myself, but because I just thought, well, should I be doing this? I'll get left behind and people won't be able to hear my message or resonate with me. And so, you want to pull your energy back from that and get into alignment. And so, I went ahead and added the mind, body, and soul chart, which kind of shares like practices that I've discussed previously. But when we talk about alignment, you want to be able to position your mind, body, and spirit for receiving. And even though I was aware of which practices and how, I might go about aligning those things, I wasn't committing to them. Like, for one specific reason or another, I was avoiding that gym. And, it turns out it was the very thing keeping me out of alignment or from feeling safe in my body. And, when your mind is convinced that, you know, it's an insecure or unstable, environment up there, it translates down into your body. And so, I just needed to get back in there and commit to everything that, I needed to do as part of my mind, body, and soul alignment, my thoughts, my beliefs, and my behaviors. And then also not being afraid to try new therapeutic practices. And even if you've tried that practice, trying a different teacher. So I'm back into watching Reiki. And, I've watched Reiki in the past and I didn't feel as much of a connection, but this particular girl that I watch, I like her. And so, it's things like that. And the importance of alignment is that when you don't position those thoughts, actions, beliefs, those practices, all the things that engage you at a physical and spiritual level, you lose momentum within that co creation process. In other words, all of the efforts and the desires and the energy that you've been putting towards what it is that you want to see happen will fall off. And so, I just learned, like, I read that Power versus Force book. Okay, I got into a couple chapters. I didn't read them all. But, there's a chapter in here that talks about surrender. And it's David Hawkins. He's a spiritual teacher and a psychiatrist. And so, with surrender, you have to be open to new possibilities. And so that's something that, as part of committing to alignment, I know that I'm on track and I just have to surrender. And that's easier said than done. But if you're in that season of surrendering and knowing you're deserving and you're working on your trust, I want you to comment down in the comment down in the comments below. I'm in the right season for infinite possibilities, because that's really what it's about. And that's basically how I've been working on my trust and navigating, the uncertainty. So, another area that I needed to review was within my planning and productivity. And that was because I had behaviors that I felt would be considered loyal to my lower self. And so I was spending too much time overthinking and allowing distractions on my creative time. And, originally when I started, it was about putting myself out there. But now that I put myself out there, I needed to do a deeper dive into my planning long term. And so I think the best way to approach this is looking at what aspects are considered your lower self. And so here's like a quick journal prompt if you want to try to evaluate what that looks like. But take this question: when I'm scared, what evasive or unproductive feelings come up? And what behaviors? So those behaviors can look like worry, procrastination, paranoia, and even exceed into anxiety and depression. But trigger warning, these things can also lead to suicidal ideation, or as far as addictions like drinking and drugs. And then, of course, the milder but still damaging overspending. So, looking at that journal prompt and identifying which aspects of your lower self, maybe that'll help you take, actionable steps to manage what that looks like for you. But I essentially had to get into my time blocking, setting boundaries for not only myself, but with family members as well. And I also decided to raise the bar a little bit with how I wanted to expand and diversify the channel. So when there's more time, I'm essentially going to challenge myself to add in helpful videos during the week outside of Self Discovery Sundays. So more to come there. But, I just felt like I could challenge myself knowing that there would be opportunity in short form content. And that way, I'm spending my time more constructively within a timeline that I know, okay, not only do I have Self Discovery Sundays, but I've got to double down because I have a couple of videos that I want to release during the week. And that is just what has worked for me. So, another challenge that I had was this false sense of isolation, or what you may have heard as being in the wilderness. And part of that was because I only shared with a select few loved ones my journey into entrepreneurship. And so, I know I'm not alone. You're not alone. And that's because we always have this connection with the divine in the entire universe. But it was a call for me to dive heavier into my self care so I could feel that love. And in the realm of consciousness, there is a certain vibration that is associated with each emotion to reach higher frequencies of consciousness or the angelic realm. And so, I needed to dive into self care to raise my vibration, to elevate my emotions from what I described earlier, from my lower self. And so, that is something that I really put care around. And if you are feeling like you don't have a community or support in something that you're trying new, definitely dive into that self care. Some of the practices I listed on the mind, body, and soul chart are also part of self care, but lean into what makes you feel your best. Then in the external world, I had to lean on existing resources or simply create them. And as I mentioned earlier, this is essentially what inspired me to set up a spiritual creator or creators interested in spirituality network. It is free and on Discord. So comment with your interests below and we can connect, or email me at spirituallykiki@gmail for an invite link. I just so want to build community here with those looking to better their life and enhance their inner divinity, as well as those who are on the front lines of creating these types of spaces for exactly that. So, super interested in following up with you guys. So, you know where to reach me, and we can definitely connect on Discord. Yeah, so many realizations through the Virgo new moon, but these challenges I shared were all areas of care I uncovered in deeper self-review. So I truly encourage you to journal, meditate, pray, and look honestly into changes that you want to make as you're starting and continuing things that are new and a part of your aspirations. But I'm already seeing the changes from simply committing to the alignment, addressing planning and productivity, and those lower aspects of myself that simply cannot go with me in this next chapter. It's very much giving you can't put new wine in the old wineskins. So I'm transmuting the fear and allowing space for more trust, which I know I talked about expanding the channel with more short form content, but I also recognize now that there is a need to emphasize the success of manifestation and following your bliss at the level of how you see yourself, which it can be an immediate awakening for some, but for many, the need for reprogramming just runs deeper. So, I want to be here to help on that journey. And if you'll look, some of my content that'll be flushed out here in the future is going to include more information on therapeutic modalities and discussion for manifesting by recovering some untapped aspects of the mind, the body, and the soul. You know, we are really all manifestors, master manifestors. And we want to focus on addressing unconscious patterns that work against us, from cultivating and going after the desirable aspects of our manifestations because we deserve it, right? Yeah. Okay. So that is something that I've also um, fully come into an understanding of, and we will definitely continue to build on what that looks like. And, I want you guys to comment if anything resonated here, if you all have had to make some adjustments and changes to this Virgo new moon as well. But feel free to email me, like this video, subscribe. And as always, remember, when you follow your bliss, the illusion is nixed. And until next week, love always, spiritually key.